One Night Stand was a love letter to ECW fans who just had ECW yanked away from him. You know, you think back to the 80s when everybody talks about Black Saturday, when people tuned in to go see Georgia Championship Wrestling, and Vince McMahon comes out and goes, "Welcome, you know, where's my Georgia Championship Wrestling?" In the same way, ECW was just kind of yanked away from out of nowhere. They were supposed to have a pay-per-view, and they were, all of a sudden in Arkansas, the Pine Bluff, Arkansas, was the last show. And like, Pine Bluff, Arkansas, nothing against Pine Bluff, Arkansas, but you were just at the arena, the week before. If you're going to pull the plug on the company, why not just have the last show at the arena? So, years go by and it really messed people up, just like it left a void in people's lives that, 5 years later, when the germ of the idea starts being floated, they're doing the ECW reunion show. You're like, ooh. And, I'm watching, them announce, people for when I say, I'm like, man, they haven't called me yet. And Dreamer calls me. He's like, 2 weeks before the show. Hey, Meanie, we didn't have your phone number. I was like, oh, okay. That makes it a little bit better, but, ECW was just a perfect love letter to the fans of ECW who had ECW ripped away from them way too abruptly. That's the
Mm.
word I was looking for. And it was awesome. It was awesome to see them bring every era of ECW together, because there's people who are in ECW who may not have shared a locker room, at that time. Eddie Guerrero was on the show. I wasn't in ECW when Eddie Guerrero was in the company, so
Yeah.
I wasn't fortunate enough to share a locker room with Eddie. So it was cool to have every era of ECW represented in one show, and just that atmosphere, and being, listening to that crowd. I watched some of the show from the gorilla position, and to watch Vince McMahon watch Masato Tanaka and Mike Awesome totally annihilate each other. He's like, ah, oh, just like that was my entertainment, watching Vince watch some of the stuff, like, just, man, that was my entertainment. But it was just so cool.
Did he have any creative input into the night, Vince, or was it literally he was there as a bystander and Paul was running the show?
We basically had I won't call it production meeting, but there was a meeting, that afternoon of One Night Stand, where we all sat in the chairs, and Vince and Johnny Ace were like, Paul and Tommy are basically running the show. We're just here to help navigate. You know, it was Paul and Tommy running, booking that show, and with the WWE navigating it. And one of the cool things, this is how you know an event is special. I had gone back to WWE for a little bit after that with the BWO and stuff like that, and I'm in an airport. I'm flying back to Philly, and so a lot of the production crew are from Philly, camera guys and stuff like that. And we're sitting in the airport, and the one camera guy is like, dude, all my years of filming shows, I never felt that environment where
Mm.
I was like that. It felt like the AC/DC video for Thunderstruck,
Yeah.
where the crowd's just like, right there. The cameraman's like, yeah, I'm filming, but I'm like taking my eye out of the thing and just to look around. The camera guys were like taking their eyes out
Mm.
of the viewfinder just to like take a peek around and absorb that. And I think the peak of that show was Sandman's entrance,
Mm.
you know, talking to
Which,
JBL,
which
about
unfortunately
that.
with on the network doesn't have the same pop because obviously they haven't retained. It's such a shame because his music was just everything, wasn't it? And coming out to generic rock and seeing that entrance just doesn't work at all.
That's the only downfall of ECW is the music.
Mm.
Everybody goes ECW and they're paying for, well, a lot of wrestling promotions back in the day didn't pay for wrestling
Yeah.
licenses. We were just happened to be the last one, But talking to JBL, he's like, man, that entrance, just The Rock goes like this. It shows his goosebumps. Everybody in that building, we were all just one giant goosebump. When the key, Enter Sandman,
Well,
starts
that's what I
playing.
mean
You
about
look at Tommy's face. Just